Fitz and Heather. Sitting down there thinking about kicking this off, I was like, what do we say to introduce ourselves? Well, Gina's gonna do it, and I was thinking, we're kind of like the OGs of NAA, and she just said we're the OGs of NAA. I was like, she's been reading my notes again. There we go. Yes, we are Fitz and Heather. Glad to be here and honored to speak on this stage. I want you guys, if you don't have a notebook out, grab some paper real quick or your phone.
Or your big brain.
Huh?
Or your big brain.
Big brain. It took me a second to follow what you were talking about. Honestly, I was like, big brain?
It's like, get the notebook.
I like big brains and I cannot lie.
Brain.
You other brothers can't deny. All right. Where am I going to be in 10 years? It's a question I want you to answer for yourself. Where am I going to be in 10 years? Take 10 seconds, write it down. If you don't have an answer in 10 seconds, something you need to think more about. Where am I going to be in 10 years? Maybe it's I'm gonna make $1 million. I'm gonna be out of debt. I'm gonna be on a beach in Hawaii. There's no wrong answers. Where are you gonna be in 10 years? Now somebody just shout one out. Just shout it all at the same time. On the stage. Y'all hearing them? We just recently had an occasion like this at our dinner table.
Yes, we're inviting you into the Fitzgerald house for a family dinner. My daughter had been pulling out the conversation cards. Have y'all ever seen those? The cubes that have the conversation cards. And we had planned a family dinner for that night. We were down a child, but we had my father with me as well. So around the table was my 13-year-old daughter, my 18-year-old son. I was missing my 16-year-old. He was at the lake with some friends. Alec and I. Alec, by the way, that's his birth name.
That's me.
That's what I call him. And my father, who is 84. So Kate pulls out like the first question, and it was like, what do you like better, rainbows, butterflies, or fairies? You know, and I was like, next, like we're not talking about that. And because we had some really good conversations leading up to this dinner, you know. But the next question she pulled out is, where do you want to be in 10 years? And I was like, ooh, good question, you know? Well, my dad, if you know him well, he is nothing close to a dirty old man. But when he feels a little uncomfortable, he laughs like a dirty old man. So my dad is 84 years old, sitting beside me, and he does, yeah. You know, but it was such an interesting conversation. We started with him because he started laughing, and of course he's like, I'm hoping to be alive in 10 years, is what he's thinking. But for those of you that ever heard me talk about my dad, he's really an inspiration when it comes to somebody never growing old. Like my mother died in his early 70s. He decided, I'm gonna go get my pilot's license, learn how to fly an airplane, bought an airplane. In the last 2 years, he now plays pickleball on a regular basis. That's his new hobby. In fact, he complains when he takes my 16-year-old son with him to play pickleball. He complains that he's being discriminated against because nobody wants to play with him because they see him and he's 84. But he wins more games than he loses. But he's sitting there, so we start this conversation with him. And I mean, I understand the awkward feeling he feels. And yet we were like, but Pops, you've been such an inspiration. Don't stop now. Like, what else do you want to do? Like, that we started teasing, like, hey, maybe you need to start like jumping out of airplanes. You know, we were like, ooh. And then we were like, but then he said, well, I want to be sure that I stay in touch with people. Like, there's certain people I feel like I haven't stayed in as good a touch with that I want to, and I want to stay in better touch with them. My 13-year-old daughter, she was like, she's just starting out in life. She's like, she's got no clue what she wants to do. She's like, I think in 10 years, I want to be an actress in LA. She's thinking big, but also a bit whimsical. My 18-year-old son thinks he's got life completely figured out, and he's like, in 10 years, I'm gonna be back in Dallas, I'm gonna have a job, I'm gonna be married, and I think I'll probably be on my way to my first kid. And we were like, oh, wow. You know, I mean, he was like young, he's got the zeal, like he knows what he wants, but he's got no concept of how hard it is. And Alec and I are at 48, and we're looking at 10 years from now, and of course we're like, well, we want to stay active and healthy, but we're really at that pace in life where we understand that time is running out, but we also understand that we still have it. But so we're much more targeted and purposeful about the things we're gonna choose to engage in. But I think that that is such an important, like when you're asking yourself, where do I wanna be in 10 years? I'm asking you, where are you? Have you just walked in and this business is just so whimsical and butterflies, and where are you, right? Are you like, I see this vision and I see this business and I've got vision, I'm 18 and nothing is gonna stop me, but you haven't yet really got the grit. You don't know how hard this business can be, right? Are you more seasoned and you wanna be purposeful with your life? Or have you gotten to a stage that you stopped dreaming? Are you 84 in this business, right? Like, where are you? Because you've gotta know where you wanna go. If you don't know where you wanna go, how do you know when you got there? And I know that when I met Alec at 19, that he knew where he wanted to go. I was 19, I was probably a little bit more like my 13-year-old. I don't know, life is grand, I have no idea where I want to go. He knew where he wanted to go at 19, and that drew me in.
So at 19, we met. We were sophomores in college, and I told her that I would make $1 million before I turned 30. And she said, let's get married. No, she didn't do that. That would have been awesome. Like 2 months later, she said, I'll go out with you. I was like, cool. 2 months later, I said, I love you. 6 months later, she said, I love you too. Then I said, I'm gonna marry you one day. A year and a half later, she said, all right. I've always kind of been out there with our relationship. I was the visionary, right? Like I knew by the time I turned 30, I wanted to have made $1 million in a year, not like cumulatively, in a year. I did it the year I turned 29. So it's a little weird telling our story because we really struggled for a few years. But what was crazy is that the work we did in those few years is continuing to pay. We continue to reap the rewards from it. And so the quick side of our story, there's lots we can talk about. Go to Thailand, let's have a couple of drinks, I'll tell you some funny stories. But the quick and dirty is I grew up here in Burlington, North Carolina. At 19, I was spending a lot of time in Andy's basement. The first year of our marriage, we lived here in Gibsonville, North Carolina. And I think that first year, we stayed at Andy and Jane's house more than we stayed at our own house that Andy said, Bo, you live here? So yeah, we stayed at their house more, way more. And we were trying to figure out ways to make money, just scrambling. We had like 28 different things when we found the insurance business. And we found it. Andy said, Bo, you're like poor. Not broke, you're poor. You should get an insurance license. These guys make money. I said, all right. So I got my license, and my first commission check was $1,800. This is 1999. Y'all are saying, woo, about 2025, $1,800. It was life-changing in 1999. And then he's like, Bo, seriously? If you want to really make money in this business, you got to hire some people. And you can't hire them here, I live here. So we talked about it, we thought about it, we looked at a map, we're like, Dallas is like in the middle of the country. I bet that's a good place. Look at the population, it's the population of North Carolina. DFW Metroplex, like, sweet. So we moved. Selling insurance for 2 months, we moved. We moved to Dallas. We were only gonna be there for 6 months. My mama said, okay, chase the greener pastures. I said, we're gonna be back in 6 months, Mama, don't worry. That was 26 years ago. All 3 of our kids were born there, so we're 60% Texan in our household. Actually, we've been there more than 20 years now. We're officially Texans. It takes 20 years to gain citizenship. We're New Texans. We can start that initiative, New Texans. But listen, we got there and we struggled. And you know, this is the relationship that I had with Andy at that time. He was building his business and he was okay letting me struggle. And Andy came out there and did some training for me and the 5 agents I'd recruited in 6 months. And then afterwards we went to dinner and he said, this is it, I'm pulling the plug, you gotta come back home. And I was a guy, when I was a kid, when I got angry, I would cry, which is dangerous when you're in a fight with me, because I'm just swinging and kicking and biting, I don't even care what it is. Right? You're looking at the poor kid crying, I'm beating the shit out of you, okay? Tasmanian devil style. Now you're the guy getting his butt whipped by some dude crying. So now I beat you psychologically too. Get you some of that. Anyway, I told Andy in no uncertain terms, no thank you. Well, there was a you involved, but I don't think the no thank was there. I was pissed. And I went to the bathroom because now I was crying. I pulled myself together and I came back out and I said, no, I'm serious. We're staying right here. We're planting our flag in Dallas. We're gonna build it. He said, okay. So in 2003, we made our first $100,000 a year. We made $286,000. 04, we made $597,000. 05, we made 1.2 million, and we've never made less than that since. In 2021, because of Andy, we were given the opportunity for the Fitz Group to be acquired by Integrity. And now we're managing partners with Integrity, and I get to make money on all y'all. I'm a shareholder, baby. Y'all like, I hate our competition. I go, they're not that bad. I think we can smoke them, but I like them too. Okay, so that's the quick run through, just real quick run through of our story. But as we're preparing for this, we want to tell you more about our story, but really what we want to go through is, what would we go back in time and tell Fitz and Heather 25 years ago? Knowing what we know now, what will we go back in time and tell Fitz and Heather? Okay, so these are the notes. We don't have a PowerPoint. Write them down. No pictures unless you're just taking one of me. Or her, my God, she's beautiful. So, y'all just give us a minute, all right? Avert your eyes. Taking massive action. If I could go back 25 years ago to Fitz back here, I would say, don't be scared of taking massive action and take lots of it. Don't ever skip on taking massive action. Like what? I mean, listen, this is back in the days before the internet was really a thing so much in 1999. We moved 18 hours away to a city. I've been a Cowboys fan my entire life, and I'd seen the TV show Dallas, so I felt like I knew everything there was to know about Dallas, Texas. And 2 wrecks I almost had my first year there. One was seeing Texas Stadium for the first time, and the other was seeing South Fork Ranch from this TV show Dallas. I was like, it's real! Oh my God! Huh? We knew everything there was to know about Dallas, but here's what we knew nothing about Dallas. What we knew was it was an opportunity. My friend Joe Walker always says, you gotta go where the crab at. You ever watch like Deadliest Catch, any of these shows? They don't keep fishing where there's no fish. They move the boats to where the fish are. I was thinking Andy had this area sort of sealed, locked down, under wraps. I wasn't gonna go head to head and compete with him. I'm gonna go over here where there's opportunity. And I'm gonna make it mine. And we did. When we moved to Dallas, I said, Andy, give me all the leads in Dallas-Fort Worth. There's 6.5 million people in 1999 in Dallas-Fort Worth. 6.5 million. I'll take all the leads you got. He said, for real? Yes, please. And then they started coming. I didn't know you meant that many. And occasionally, these were paper leads. They got sent to the wrong address. And I go find them finally, like, yeah, they're delivered to this. I was like, the wrong apartment. I get over there, it's been rained on, sunned on, rained on, sunned on for like 3 or 4 days. You can't read anything on those. You know what I did? I didn't ask for a refund on the leads. It's the cost of doing business. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. In accounting, they call it profit and loss. It's not just profit, 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 profit. That's not real. There's the other side. The scientist would say, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Yeah, for all the good, there's some shit. I was told we could say that word now. Tia said it. I'll tell you, another massive action I took was when a mentor of mine said, I challenge you to do 2020. This is in 2003, and I know there's been many iterations of it since. I'll tell you what I did. He said, 20,000 personal productions submit a month and 20 recruits in your agency in a month. And initially, all 20 of those were mine. And over time, I hired people and they hired people, and that counted for the 20. But it was 20,000 personal submit, 20 recruits. Licensed, contracted, not you talk to your brother about this, but actually licensed and contracted recruits a month. And he said, in 90 days, your business will look totally different. And he was right. In 90 days, I went from $20,000 in production to $40,000 in production. Well, that's double, Fitz. It's 20 to 40, it's nothing. I know percentage is double, but when you're making 20% on that, you went from making $4,000 to making $8,000. It's not like life just changed and I'm buying a Ferrari now. Integrity's not wanting to buy that company. So I went to him, I said, you're a freaking liar. I used to have better people skills. I said, you're a liar. He said, I don't know what to tell you, Fitz. Maybe you're just slow. It's worked for others. I said, no, thank you. Again, no, thank you. I'm a polite guy. There was a you involved. So then I did it again. This was March, April, May. June, I did it again. Another 30 days of that, 120 days in. And we had grown to 43,000. And before I could call him up, the first week of July happened. Now that year, the first week of July happened to include July 4th. One guy got the joke. That's good. You keep telling jokes until there's just one guy laughing. Now you know you got there. That week we did $35,000. That included the 4th of July, when you know you can't make sales. 97,000 by the end of the month. By October of that year, we were $200,000 a month in volume. We grew 10x in 7 months. Massive action.
When I think back on that time or season, and like we've said, like what would you go back and tell yourself? And you don't understand how massive action can change your life. And I think about, like we were talked about, the years that we were at Jane and Andy's house. And I can remember Jane and I talk about it often, like sitting on the couch and the tears. Like if you ever needed something, when we said, for example, where are you gonna be in 10 years? Is there something right now that you're like, it will not be like this 10 years from now? And that was that moment that, you're in that depth of despair. Like, we're at the beginning of our life. It's supposed to be the best part of our life, and instead we can't pay a bill. And I would whisper, if I could, in my ear, it might take a little longer than you think. But thanks to some massive action, you're never going back to the way that it was. It's like the rubber band effect. I can't promise you that if you go do exactly what Fitz did, what we did in that time and season, I cannot promise you that you will get the exact same result. But I can promise you that you just will not be the same. Massive action means that you will not be the same. And I wish I could go back and just whisper that in my ear.
Yeah. Woo, just her saying that, we'd never go back. Just the emotions just hit me, just like that. I'm like, golly, that massive action, we're never going back. That's pretty damn cool. All right, going back 25 years ago to Fitz and Heather way over here. Invest in people. Invest in people. All right, so I'm an idiot. Anybody else? Fair enough. I figured I wasn't alone. This is like Idiots Anonymous. No offense, but nobody grows up planning to be an insurance agent, right? Like, we all landed here. It's not a bad place to be, but we weren't like, I'm gonna be an insurance agent. No, you didn't. Maybe one guy. Not even my own kids are doing that. They freaking live in my house. So I had a sales meeting. I used to do a sales meeting weekly every Tuesday from 10 to 12. There was a period where we moved it from like 1 to 3, but the jerk who suggested that never once showed up, so we moved it back to 10 to 12. But I have grown quite a bit over the years, and back then I had a guy that I was investing in quite a bit. I was with him making phone calls. I was running appointments with him. I was recruiting people. I was working with this guy, and he didn't show up for a sales meeting and didn't tell me he wasn't going to be there. I called him up, and I stringed together profanity, hooked together with hyphens that would impress a lot of people who are impressed by such things. I was impressed. I got done, I was like, wow. If it were such a thing, I feel like that was spirit-led. Probably something he needed to hear, and I was the first one to tell him. And I told him good. And so I called up Andy. I'm telling Andy, I was like, oh, you won't believe what I just said to this guy. You won't believe what I just said to this guy, man. You won't believe it. I'm telling him this. Andy's just going, yeah, he's good. It's funny. He said, hey, you think he's coming back next week to sales meeting? I said, no chance he's coming back to sales meeting. That dude is gone. I mean, gone. All capital letters, G-O-N-E, ain't coming back. He said, so do you think he's going to sell anything next week? Huh. I hadn't really thought about that one. I learned 2 things in that moment. One, just because somebody's laughing doesn't mean they think you're funny. That hurt. 2, it's important to keep people around. Like if you're building a business of people, it's important to keep people around. It's like if you're building a house with bricks, it's important to have bricks around, right? You don't suddenly start building with 2x4 when you need brick. I need a brick. Oh, let's use some straw. No, the 3 little pigs already covered that. You need bricks. Okay, got it. So Fitz, do you have people that didn't come to conference and you thought they could and they were gonna be here? Yeah, and they're not here? Yeah. What are you gonna do? I'm not gonna call them up and rip a new one. It doesn't work. It's just gonna blow them out. Now they may be at the next conference because I didn't blow them out. And just like that, things happen. Business explodes. Now they're making tons of money, and that's my job, is to help them do that. Right? Another story. I had 2 serious criminals in my business at some point. 2 big ones, right? And it cost me a lot of money. The first one happened, so he wasn't paying his lead bill and his team wasn't paying their lead bill for like 6 months. This is back when lead bill was run by QuickBooks, and we had no real way of knowing that it bounced at the bank. And so 6 months accumulated of paying lead bills. And back in those days, if they didn't pay the lead bill, it rolled up. And he accumulated $80,000 of lead debt. By the way, that can never happen again. That's been fixed. That's been fixed. And so Andy said, dude, $50 a week, we're good. Just pay $50 a week and we're good. To that guy. And that guy quit. $50 a week to pay off $80,000 in debt, no interest, any calculators in the room? It's gonna take 400 years to pay that off. But instead, the guy quit. Says something about the character. But then I had to pay it. Oh. Nobody likes to pay an $80,000 bill. I didn't like it, but I did it. A year or two later, had another guy quit. Now, to be fair, I had labeled this guy, he's a crook, he's a crook, he's a crook, and he quit. And with him, I remember Andy called me, I was in an airport. Andy called me up, he was up in Toronto, hanging out with some Canadians at Forrester's, and said, hey, Bo, I'm sitting here with Preston. Preston's in the room, he probably remembers this. Sitting here with Preston, and we just uncovered some more that's gonna roll up to you, and I started laughing. I started laughing. He was like, Fitz has lost his mind. I just started laughing. And he's like, are you okay? I said, it's just gotten beyond the point of being painful. This is just funny now. It's funny. It's just straight up funny. Now, what happened can't happen again. That problem's been solved. Thank you, OG. You're welcome. I heard you. We fixed it, but it cost me $250,000. Dang. I paid that off the next year and still had my most profitable year to date. Diane remembers that crook. It was her upline. And then a crook, there was like a couple of crooks in between me and you. They're all part of that. If you know Adam Johnson of Minnesota, he's one of the top producers in the NAA. I mean, he's one of the top, he's doing estate planning like crazy right now. He came from that, ultimately. Like there's some really good stuff that came from that. It sucked. That's not fun. But you know what? It's still about people. But people are gonna hurt you, Fitz, only if you get close to them. But they're only gonna grow their business, which grows yours, if you get close to them. You know, anybody in this room could say a million things to me and it wouldn't bother me the least. Heather says it, and I'm in bed for 3 days crying. Why? I'm the closest to her. I've been the most vulnerable with her. She's the one that can hurt me the most. That's what happens when you invest in people.
These situations, they leave a mark. I mean, have you been in this business enough that you've been lied to, you've been cheated from, maybe you've been betrayed? And when we were going through that first situation, it happened while he was away on a trip that I had stayed back from because I was early pregnant, and I was in the office managing the chaos. And if I could go back, I would tell myself, you gotta let it go. Let it go. The years, there were years of consternating over people, over betrayals, over hurts, over anger. And you can't, if you don't get over it, you can't keep loving people. You can't keep believing in people. Sometimes it can be hard to walk into a room like this or walk into your business when you're recovering emotionally and mentally behind the scenes from these hurts. But you gotta go into it saying, I still believe in people. I still love people. I still wanna give more than I take. Because at the end of my life, these are the things that I wanna be remembered for. I understand we're all here to build our bank accounts, and this business is the best vehicle to do that. But when you think about the end of your life and what do you want to be known for, I want to be known for believing in people. I want to be known that maybe I took some hits, maybe I took some stabs, maybe I felt misunderstood in so many ways, but I chose to keep moving on, to let it go, And I just wish I could have done it faster. I wish I could have done it quicker. I wish I didn't let it hurt so much so that it kept me from loving fully other people that were in my life. You got to keep believing in people.
All right, so this last one may be a bit controversial, so I'll try my best to explain it. Going back 25 years ago, talking to Fitz and Heather, I would say, think for yourself. That's the controversial part. Wait a second, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm supposed to think for myself? I didn't say think by yourself. I said think for yourself. So a few years ago, a mentor said to me, you know, Fitz, you're like a Sherpa. Sounded cool. What do you mean? You know what a Sherpa is? Like these guys, they lead people up Mount Everest. And they've gone up Mount Everest 1 million times and helped 1 million people go up Mount Everest. Sherpas. He said, you're a Sherpa. That's what you've done. You've helped people make millions. You've made millions. You've helped other people do it. And I started thinking about that. I said, yeah, I am a Sherpa. I'm Sherpa Fitz. That sounds like a real Sherpa's name if they were short Irishmen. Sherpa Fitz, the Sherpa leprechaun. Then I started thinking about it. I've told people, don't step right there. If you step right there, you're gonna fall into a 1,000-foot crevasse. They will find your body in 500 years. Don't step right there. You know what they do? Step right there. I'm like, dang it. I mean, I told you, but we gotta keep going, so see you later. I don't take the blame when I told somebody not to do it and they do it. I don't take the blame for that. I told you not to. Now, here's the other thing. Get to the top of Mount Everest. You take a selfie of yourself because you got to the top of Mount Everest. You know who you don't see in the picture? The Sherpa. The Sherpa's not like, Sherpa's probably taking the picture. Sherpa's not there. They don't take credit for the success either. Pretty cool, right? So you've got to take advice from people. You've got to learn from those who've been before you. You've got to filter out the information. You've got to look at the fruit on the tree. You got to figure out if this person really knows what they're talking about or not. You know what I would do if I was you? Bro, you haven't hired one person. I don't give a rip what you got to say about how to build this business. I've hired 1,000 people. Nobody has stayed. I don't give a rip what you know about this business. You gotta filter it. Because at the end of the day, it's your name on the door. It's your name on the parking spot. It's your name on the paycheck that you're paying your staff. It's your name. I screw things up. It's not like Andy comes parachuting in and go, don't worry, Fitz, I'll pay your payroll this week. That's not how life works. That's not real. So the decisions I make for my business have to be decisions I made, not something somebody made for me. Does that make sense? I've made some horrible decisions. I got jacked up in recruiting at one point. Back in 2012, our recruiting wasn't going well, and I've done the flywheel doom loop talk, and some of you guys have heard me talk about getting caught in a doom loop myself, and I was reacting without understanding, and I just looked at Andy and what he was building here. I was like, that's what I need. I need an ABTF. So overnight, I hired 2 initial dialers and 9 recruiters, literally overnight. And it failed miserably for 2 years. I was almost out of business. It sucked so bad. And I was like, I gotta put an end to this. I realized the problem was me. I made a decision based on somebody else's success. I didn't really fully understand what was happening. What I didn't do was train those recruiters how to recruit. And it almost killed the business.
Les Brown spoke on this stage probably like 5 years ago, and he talked about, I just still remember, it hit me between the eyes, but he said, bet on you. And I was at that point, because did I say earlier at the beginning that we were 48 years old? We're talking about the dinner table, our age. Anyway, I don't. But so I was in my just past 40, and that hit me between the eyes, like bet on you. And I was like, yeah, I need to bet on me. And I just thought if I could go back and tell myself the day that I quit my job so we could build this business, I will never forget closing the door for the last time, walking down the hallway. I will never forget the sense of relief and the sense of absolute terror, because you are walking into the unknown. And I would tell myself then, bet on you. But here's how you know when you're not betting on you. It's when you're constantly comparing when it's comparison telling you can't do this because I'm not like that person. That's not betting on you. When it's telling yourself that I'm not enough, that's not betting on you. When it's running from your failures or your mistakes, that is not betting on you. But just like you gotta believe in people, you gotta believe in you when nobody else might. But you've got to believe in you. We really just wanna encourage you tonight that you can get where you want to go. We are a great example that in this business, you can get where you wanna go. But more than that, we want you to get where you wanna go 10 years from now in life. We would just want to encourage you. I don't know about you, but I just can't live or breathe without hope. And I will never forget the first time that I really saw this business, and it gave me hope to believe that I could be somewhere better in the future than I was right now. And whatever it is that you shouted out, wrote out, put in your big brain, whatever it is that you told yourself at the beginning of this talk, I want you to see yourself in the future, and I want you to know that you can do it. We had this traveling pastor that would come, and he was, I'm gonna admit, a little quirky, and if my kids were here, they would be like, oh God, this is so embarrassing. But he would say, I'm somewhere in the future, and I look much better than I look right now. He had a rhythm. I don't have a lot of rhythm, but I said it in a rhythm. But I'm gonna challenge you right now to say that with me. Because I believe that when you believe and say things through the power of faith in a God, that it magnifies that power. But even if you don't believe in a God, it's a spiritual principle that what your heart hears your mouth say changes you on the inside. So those of you that need a little taste of hope today, I want you to say with me, I'm somewhere in the future, and I look much better than I look right now. Do y'all want to stand up and say it? Let's stand up. And I think we're done for the night, so. You ready? I'm somewhere in the future, and I look much better than I look right now. Love y'all.